Good morning, students. Hope all of you are fine. Beta, this lecture is also in continuation of theme 9, and name of this theme is Kings and Chronicles. Till now, we have discussed various topics by which we come to know about the Mughal emperors. Then we come to know about how the manuscripts were written, like those were known as the chronicles. So how the chronicles were produced, then what was the process of framing the manuscripts, and how the paintings were used in these manuscripts, and what was the issue of contradiction between the ulemas and the court. Like according to the law, ulemas, the Shariat law, that in Quran it is prohibited to paint the images of the living beings. Like it was related to the creation and creativity of something that is the exclusive work of God. With that, we also discuss about the various variants of the Akbarnama and the Badshahnama. Afterward, we discussed about the ideal kingdom. So, what were the ideals of Mughal kingdom? Like a divine light. Then a unifying force also we have discussed. So, but the today's topic is the capitals and the courts. So, the capital cities. The heart of the Mughal Empire was its capital city, where the court assembled. So during the Mughal Empire, the capital city, it possessed a very significant position. The capital cities of the Mughals frequently shifted during the 16th and 17th century. Like Babur took over the Lodi capital of Agra. Though during the 4 years of his reign, the court was frequently on the move. But during the 1560s, Akbar had the fort of Agra constructed with red sandstone quarried from the adjoining regions. As you know, the Agra fort is still very famous. And in the 1570s, he decided to build a new capital, and this new capital was Fatehpur Sikri. Now, what was the reason that prompted Akbar to shift the capital to Sikri? Because the Sikri, this place was located on the direct road to Ajmer, where the Dargah of Sheikh Munauddin Chishti had become an important pilgrimage center. So the Mughal emperors entered into a close relationship with Sufis of the Chishti Silsila. As you know, in chapter Bhakti and Sufi tradition also we have read that Ajmer Dargah, it was visited by Akbar 16 times for the various reasons. So that is why the Mughal emperors entered into a close relationship with Sufis, and Akbar commissioned the construction of a white marble tomb for Sheikh Salim Chishti next to the majestic Friday Mosque at Sikri. And the enormous arch gateway, that is known as the Buland Darwaza, was meant to remind visitors of the Mughal victory in Gujarat. As you know, this Buland Darwaza, it was constructed on the occasion of victory of Gujarat. In 1585, the capital was transferred to Lahore to bring the northwest under greater control. And Akbar closely watched the frontier for 13 years. It means, as per the various political reasons and the defense reason, the capital city was continuously shifted to various places. Shah Jahan pursued sound fiscal policies and accumulated enough money to indulge his passion for building. As you know, if we talk about the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan, during reign of Shah Jahan, so many majestic buildings were formed. like Taj Mahal, Red Fort. All these are the live example of the architecture of Shah Jahan's reign. Building activity in monarchical cultures, as we have seen in the earlier rulers, was the most visible and tangible sign of dynastic power, wealth and prestige. Sometimes we also think that why these so majestic forts and buildings were constructed by the various rulers, because they just want to show their wealth, their power to their subjects. So in the case of Muslim rulers, it was also considered an act of piety. In 1648, the court, army and the household moved from Agra to the newly completed imperial capital Shah Jahanabad. As you know, Shah Jahanabad, this city, it was constructed by Shah Jahan. And construction of this city, it was started in 1639. And in 1648, the court, army, all these were moved from Agra to Shah Jahanabad. So it was a new addition to the old residential city of Delhi, with the Red Fort, the Jama Masjid, a tree-lined esplanade with the bazaars, Chandni Chowk. As you know, beta, this Chandni Chowk, it was constructed by the daughter of Shah Jahan, and name of the daughter was Jahanara Begum. And even there in Shah Jahanabad, there were spacious homes for the nobilities. Shah Jahan's new city was appropriate to a more formal vision of a grand monarchy. So, as we have read, so many magnificent buildings, forts were, and even mosques were also constructed during this time. Now the next topic is about the Mughal court. What was the physical arrangement of the court? So the physical arrangement of the court focused on the sovereign, mirrored his status as the heart of society. As we have read, the capital city, it was the center point of the empire. The same way, in the court, the physical arrangement, it was the heart of the society. And obviously, its centerpiece was the throne, or in Arabic, it was called the takht, which gave physical form to the function of the ruler as axis mundi. So the canopy, a symbol of kingship in India, for a millennium was believed to separate the radiance of the sun from that of the sovereign. Like you know, the rays just come out of the sun. So this was the system from the millennium. And even if we read about the Mughal chronicles, it's laid down with great precision the rules defining status amongst the Mughal elites. And even in court, status was determined by the spatial proximity to the king. So the place, according to the courtier by the ruler, was a sign of his importance in the eyes of the emperor. So even various systems were also followed in the Mughal court. Like once the emperor sat on the throne, no one was permitted to move from his position or to leave without permission. So the social control in court society was exercised through carefully defining in full detail the forms of address, courtesies and speech which were acceptable in court. It means the proper system was followed in the Mughal court. The slightest infringement of etiquette was noticed and punished on the spot. Like various traditions were followed, like the forms of salutation to the ruler indicated the person's status in the hierarchy. Deeper prostration represented higher status. The highest form of submission was sijda or complete prostration. Beta, this sijda means when those people they just bow their head and they just move, touching their forehead again and again. If the emperor was crossing from there, it was known as sijda. And other tradition, other rituals which were changed under the reign of Shah Jahan, those were chahar taslim or zameen bos. Zameen bos, beta, it was the system of kissing the ground. So these rituals were followed in Mughal courts. And if you will see this highlighted box, chahar taslim is a mode of salutation which begins with the placing the back of the right hand on the ground and raising it gently till the person stands erect. When he puts the palm of his hand upon the crown of his head, it is done 4 times. Taslim literally means submission. So sometime the question can be asked, define chahar taslim. Right? Now just again we will discuss on the previous page. Here this source 2 is given. Like you know, the first source, it was related to Abul Fazl, and this source 2 is related to the Darbare Akbari. Abul Fazl gives a vivid account of Akbar's Darbar. Whenever His Majesty Akbar holds court, a large drum is beaten, जिसको आप नगाड़ा बोलते हैं बेटा, that was beaten, and the sounds of which are accompanied by divine praise. Means whenever Akbar entered in the court, so then those people they spoke aloud in the praise of Akbar. In this manner, people of all classes receive notice. It was just to come in notice that all people came to know that the Emperor Akbar is coming to the court. His Majesty's son and grandchildren, the grandees of the court, and all other men who have admittance attend to make the corniche and remain standing in their proper places. Learned men of renown, the skillful mechanics pay their respect, and the officers of justice present their reports. Means all these were related to the court proceedings. His Majesty, with his usual insight, gives order and settles everything in a satisfactory manner. And even during the whole time, skillful gladiators and wrestlers from all countries hold themselves in readiness, and singers, male and female, are in waiting. Clever jugglers and funny tumblers also are anxious to exhibit their dexterity. It means various type of activities were performed in Mughal court. Official work, the political work, the defense related matters. With that, some entertainment activities were also performed in the Mughal court. So beta, this was the topic for today. Hope all of you have understood the topic. Thank you and have a nice day.